I'm skeptical of. We highlight him as a player to watch coming into LGD, but you know, he could play these Syndras and Zoes in the PCS and LMS where the skill level was much lower, but we did see in 2020 him gravitating more towards things like the Set and the Galio, and again, playing more for his jungler, so I'm not quite sure if he will be able to stand toe-to-toe in lane against a lot of these top-tier LPL mid laners.
About to find out in the Game 3. We're going to pick and ban. Ladies and gentlemen, a quick reminder for you, EDG and FPX will be played in full after this series ends here. So don't worry, you're not going to miss any of the action. Of course, they're playing in Shanghai, and we're in V5's home arena in Shenzhen, hence the delay there. So let's see how we go. Pick and ban. Oh my god, we've just opened the overlay, and 80 carries are there.
So the interesting thing is the fact that both teams have kept the same bans as Game 2, despite the fact that they're on the same sides as Game 1. So V5 this time around going to pick up the Kai'Sa for themselves. A bit of a hyper carry for Y4. The nice thing about it into the Jhin matchup is once you hit that level 6, you do have like the all-in and burst potential coming out, but at least LGD should have a nice AD carry matchup. But with V5 picking up the Galio, Galio is a great support into Leona, does counter a lot of her all-in, and does provide a lot of wave control to find the early push and the early roams that V5 would want.
Emphasizes your point even more. You know, he's a selfless player, whether he's in the carry position or not, and Galio's going to do exactly that for the side of V5. Olaf paired with him puts a lot of emphasis on that bottom lane already.
And now it's about where LGD do go with jungle. The Graves is something we've talked about a lot throughout the first 2 games. It hasn't been picked up yet, but this is Quay's most played jungler in his career by far, so it would be a nice pickup for him. It was 19 games on the Graves and 9, if I recall correctly, on his following second most played on the Lee Sin. So LGD at least getting some more comfort. And I like that their coaching staff is kind of identifying some of the things that did cause him to lose and sort of the areas where V5 do tend to fall flat.
Yeah, we'll see. I want to move forward because LGD look like they're going to really progress through this pick ban fast. The second phase leads with the set, something that Chance has been prioritizing, so not willing to pick it up in the 4th slot on the red side.
I would like to see LGD just ban out more mid laners, so we obviously still have the Syndra open. I think the Syndra would work well for both sides, but V5 being the ones to ban it out. Again, that Galio is still a flex pick. It is something we commonly see to the support role up against the Leona specifically. With a lot of these bans coming out, we're kind of getting into the A and B tier of mid lane champions.
It feels like mid laners in this series are really being respected, which is a good sign of Beauty Boy to come for this split for this year in the LPL as he debuts. LGD, another support? No. We get rid of the Camille. Top lane is yet to be picked on both sides. So they don't want that strong scissor-legged lady taking over the lane.
Nice descriptive words coming out of Sterix. I think the only mid laner that jumps to my mind still being open for LGD could potentially be the Twisted Fate. Of course, the Victor is there as well, and Victor is a very good a zoning control mage that's good into compositions that do come into him, so that is actually what V5 do. So V5 banning that one out, I think, really does only leave the Twisted Fate.
Brother, you're on point here. Let's see. If we see the Twisted Fate, I don't know if we start bowing or, you know, we say bless Lyric, because this Twisted Fate being hovered here gets locked on in, and pooly dooly, sir, you are a genius.
Now the question is, again, what are V5 going to do with the support role? The Alistar is still open if they want to keep the Galio mid and just kind of match that global pressure and play for the mid jungle. Your other option, I think, would be going for something like the Akali, which can definitely play into the Twisted Fate, but you're sacrificing a bit more of your lane pressure, though Akali definitely doesn't really lose against anyone in this new season, but V5 instead going to go for the Gragas, which doesn't tell us anything. That could go topper support as well.
Exactly right. You know, PP God's a player that would definitely fit into his wheelhouse. Let's find out the Rise. Would that tell you? No, it wouldn't tell us. It wouldn't tell us a damn thing. But we would get our solo laner.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it would at least tell us that Galio would be going into the support position, which has been something we've expected ever since it got locked in. And the Galio is coming through, so again, this is not the first, not Galio, the Rise. This is not the first time that we have seen Rise in the LPL. Of course, we did see RNG pull it out and cry and go on that one the other day.
And, you know, I guess the last question is, you know, we expect to see it with Mole. Of course, you mentioned Cryin played it in the mid lane. We'll pause on that because we'll get the final rotation from V5 as they change around. But the Gnar locked in once again and up into the top side, most likely, as you mentioned, versus the Gragas.
Definitely a Gnar favored matchup, right? You have the range against melee. Gragas is one of the, I'd say, safer kind of tanky top laners just from the fact that you do have sustain built into your passive and you do have a range Q. So at very worst, you can just farm from a safe distance with that Q.
Okay, well, run me through LGD's comp quickly because when you have a Twisted Fate, I always talk about hitting side lanes, but I'm curious as to what lane you hit if you LGD.
For LGD, I like the point and click CC they have in the mid lane. So this could be a throwback to LGD of 2020 where they were the only team that really played Twisted Fate as this pick to actually set up ganks in the mid lane. We would usually see most LPL teams kind of leave TF on an island and then obviously support the team with his ultimate. So this time around, LGD can pair up with mid jungle and then try to support that bottom lane as we highlighted.
Okay, supporting the bottom lane on the other side. V5, run me through quickly before we get into Game 3 Lyric because I do like the fact that, you know, we have a lot of these engaged tools when you have the Gragas, the Galio, some of the global potential with Realm Warp actually adding in the semi-global.
V5, I think, again, are just going to be very bot-centric. Galio will have push in this bottom lane. Again, you just throw out the Winds of War, you hit the wave with your passive, and you're able to freely roam. You also set up for the Olaf gank quite well with your taunt and your Justice Punch. The question for me is going to be the mid lane matchup. Again, Ryze isn't a champion we see all that often. He does have the ability to spam the wave early now that Tier has become a starting item. Can just throw out those abilities and start to just kind of give pressure for Weiwei very early on.
I'd like to see if Weiwei can take over the game again alongside PP God because V5 looked great in Game 2, but LGD, we don't forget the Game 1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on to Summoner's Rift once again. EDG and FPX will be played in full after Game 3. So our match of the week coming up. You don't want to go anywhere, especially when V5 showed us what they did in game number 3, but game number 2. But game 3 is very, very different. Game 3 is not that lane dominance. Instead, Lyric, I see a lot of scaling on the board. I see the potential for the Machine Gun Ryze and the Kai'Sa to take over some of these fights.
Very interesting. Again, we can expect to see Y4 even start popping off as early as level 6. Very good into a mobile AD carries like Jhin when you do have this all-in potential. The Galio countering a lot of what the Leona does, but LGD definitely the team that want to get the foot going at the level 6 mark, right? We need to see those early Twisted Fate ultimates have a nice impact on the map because a lot of your damage is going to be based around this Jhin and this Graves, so we're gonna need to see an early lead coming out from LGD.
Okay, look for the timers here, especially since the first ult normally dictates as Fat Boy is just hitting a little... What animal is Gnar? A yordle wolf? I actually don't know what animal he is. Tiger? Cat. He's a cat. No, he's just,
no, I think maybe a saber-toothed tiger. Is that right? That sounds right. I mean, he's not technically an animal, right? He's a yordle, but saber-toothed tiger sounds the closest.
Okay, he's a cute one at that. At the very least, look, there's trading going up in the top side. Comment on Gragas. Not something we normally see even up there, but do I have to pause myself? I do. Y4 gets hit hard. Lyric, matchup, Comet, top. Why?
Honestly, that's a bit of a weird one because one of the reasons, obviously, Gragas has come back into the meta is... Ooh.
Bloody hell, we just don't stop, do we? Mole has to flash away, but Uniboy used his own.
Still, this goes back to what we wanted to see from LGD, right? We said, hey, you have the point and clicks you see in the mid lane. You have the burst with your Graves. Kind of set that one up. Ryze is a very easy target, especially because we assumed he'd be pushing the wave early on with that tier. So thus far, LGD kind of executing on the win conditions that we set up for them.
Yeah, so getting off early means pretty nice, recurring gank, especially when Ryze, doesn't have a way to survive. He's gone for the TP to get back into the lane, but not to survive it. Push up in the top side here for Colt as well, abusing the range advantage as the wave crashes in. So the only person right now sitting at a CS advantage is Weiwei in the jungle.
But I want to go back to that top lane matchup like you were talking about, though I might not get time as V5 or doing the V5 thing of looking for aggressive action on bot side. Quay is going to walk in.
But only to clear the ward, at the very least for Scuttlecrab. How do we contest? It's 3 versus 3 until mid laners get involved. Actually moving down is Mole first, who's level 3 himself. And PP God just has to escape with the flash forward from Chance. Follows with the Zenith Blade. PP God used his in response. The forced shot now has to reload. Garvey flashing with a dancing grenade, but he doesn't get the shot. The undertow there, the deadly flourish, a bit to the left. And V5 survive, meaning the top side free to get this engaged. Lung Xing bullies down Colt.
Wei Wei is going to keep going.
He has the flash as well. He'll burnt. Garvey holding on to that fourth shot. Good dodge from Wei Wei. And I think we have time to breathe after all the shenanigans.
Yeah, a lot of oh, do we though, Hysterics? Do we?
No, we don't. Backs away, but no one's died.
Yeah, lots of summoners blown on both sides, and I think we can go back to that top lane matchup we were talking about, because now we do see Longxing starting to win is, one of the reasons Gragas came back into the meta with that phase rush. I think Flandre put it very well in an interview that Gragas is just a very annoying champion for the enemy to deal with. Okay. It doesn't end, Hysterics. It doesn't stop.
Just punch away. Quay's on the chase at half health. Doesn't matter. Mole, though, has to be careful, and, they'll just help push out. Now tell me, go back to Gragas. Nothing's happening.
I don't think we're getting a chance, but, Gragas has a lot of low cooldown abilities. Getting something like the phase rush, which you can pretty much just proc very consistently. You can throw out your abilities, get in for the trade, and then back out, as we have double TP coming into the mid lane.
At least you got your point across. At least you got to finish your sentence. Double TP with a Hex Flash, and V5, technically not a waste, but at the very least, nothing happens.
It was kind of a waste, and I can tell V5 don't want us talking about Gragas, but hey, V5's
Steal.
2 TPs, they do get them the Raptor camp. They were going to have to TP to lane anyway, most likely, at least for Mole in the mid lane, but still, that was kind of confusing.
Yeah, it was. The whole early game's been a bundle of confusion. All that we know is that V5 had a gold lead, and now they don't, because bottom lane has just taken over with CS, and top lane's evened out a bit, and of course Quay in the jungle getting back some of the CS himself. So gold even, nothing's happened. A lot of summoners down across the map, but the early game rages on.
And we're already seeing the Boots of Lucidity coming out on both sides. This is something we already talked about earlier in the broadcast, right? The fact that we all know they got buffed from 15 to 20 ability haste. And for reference, 20 ability haste is about 17% CDR. So the old Lucidity boots in Season 10 were only 10%. So that's obviously like a massive buff for this item, which is why we are seeing a lot of champions build these now. And
cost hasn't changed, right? You're paying the same amount for better stats when, also ability haste can stack a lot better. Going past the cap as explosive cast used body slam as well, but the Q from Lung Xing, is that the difference? I think it might be. I don't know how you missed that one, as Mole's coming up with a Realm Warp. Here we go. V5's comp only goes in Lyric, and this is how they do it best. The flash from Colt was pretty bad, and Mole gets first blood.
Uniboy is hovering towards the bottom side, though, and V5's bot lane is pushed up, but Wei Wei is waiting in the wings.
Well, Destiny is global, pretty much. And Uniboy has the range, but not going to use it in the end, and Wei Wei just sits there while Dragon's going to start from Quay.
And it goes back to that age-old trade of picking up early gold on the map and giving up these early dragons. So LGD with a nice response, but overall, really nice play coming out from Longxing. Gonna back and pick up the double Doran, so indexing more into laning strength, but Colt answering right back there with him, picking up 2 Doran's plates and a Negatron cloak.
But meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Wei Wei waited around for this one. Can't get the Shield of Duran onto Garvey. Good dodge away. Justice Punch with the Ignite down. Undertow connects, and that's the slow you need. On top of this, Jin. Y4's going to be given the kill as well. 1 to the Kai'Sa, 1 to the Rise. The scaling begins.
One of the reasons why we don't typically see, again, these immobile AD carries like being picked into the Olaf. Even with missing the taunt, the Justice Punch comes up. Wei Wei's able to get in range, and they lock that one down. I kind of expected that we were going to get a replay of that top play, but I do just want to give Longxing some praise. I thought that was extremely clean. Throws out the ultimate, chains it into the body slam. Doesn't exactly hit the Q, but again, Colt is already so far under Longxing's turret. It gives Mole enough time to come up and secure the kill for himself.
Yeah, I'll definitely defend, because I think it was being a bit harsh with the Q. If it hit, maybe it was just a clean solo kill, or at least close to. But at the very least, Longxing hitting everything else sets up for Mole to come in. We just saw there that V5's being prepped up for their next series against BLG. I like that advertisement, because I think for V5, this is going to be a lot easier of a series than BLG is. So we get to see V5 at this point.
it's nice timing because me and you will also be on that series.
Hey, yes, we will. That's coming up Monday, folks. So 2 days away to see V5 once again for all you PP leavers. V5 in this game, though, we're going to be realistic. 1,200 gold in the lead after those 2 kills. And the CS advantage now accruing in that mid lane. I mean, advantage, 1 or 2 CS in the extra, but it's a Rise versus a Twisted Fate, and Mol's doing well.
And we need to remember one of the changes, as I pause, LGD.
PP God survives. Garvey comes in as well. 4 members mid. They're moving up for the Herald.
Yeah, and just to touch on another point about Rise, right, is that Seraph's Embrace obviously changed as well. It doesn't give you the shield anymore. Now it increases your maximum mana by 5% and has like a scaling percent of your AP as well.
True.
So that also pairs well with the passive where you gain ability power for your mana and just obviously works with Rise's passive as well. So it is one of the nice changes for Rise in 2021.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you know, especially when you can get a shield off the passive, it's just like, well, do we need it? It's not really. V5 on the Herald somehow. Now, LGD moved up to start this, but Garvey started going back down. V5 had vision, and then eventually they take the Herald anyway.
I think it's also because Y4 was moving here first. We also have all the key abilities up for the side of E5. I was wrong, though. PB God didn't exactly... Oh.
The boys. Oh, we're in topside. Holy hell, Colt hates life. What cyber bullies from V5.
V5 just going with the tried and true, continuing these dives with their 3-man squad in their bot lane. We're going to see Mole have to go back to answer in mid, but LGD just kind of have to accept the pressure. Unoboy is getting a bit of a solo advantage with those turret plates, and Quay is at least answering in the bottom half of the map, but gold strictly in favor of Victory 5. Yeah,
it is. Herald up, gonna bop right next to him. Or her, excuse me. So first turret of the game goes over and gives the gold to Y4. And remember, it's a Jhin and Leona. You're not going to push the turret that fast, so you give up 2, 3, 4 plates across the map for another shove in this top side, and what is a pretty good snowball for a comp that didn't need to snowball.
The only takeaway from that is that you call the Herald charge a bop.
What do you think it is?
What makes it a bop? What defines a bop?
I don't know. Bop's more like of a dance, right? So
I feel like a bop is like a quick action to where the Herald kind of charges up more like a whoosh type thing, you know? Okay,
all right. Great sound effect. You used to be a musician, so you're very good with your sound effects.
Oh God, PB God.
Yeah,
we didn't see that. We didn't see that.
That was something. It doesn't matter. Look, at this point, V5 is still 2,000 gold ahead. It's 11 minutes into the game. They have 3 kills in their name, and I think crucially, Lyric, we're going to see Mole with his first item towards this next dragon. We're going to see the Noon Quiver upgraded for Y4. So V5 are in such a good position, and as we have this first turret down, I want you to tell me what happens next and how you can pace this game out if you're V5.
For V5, at some point, we're going to definitely see them transition Mole to a side lane and keep their bottom lane in mid. With Dragon coming up in 15 seconds, we're definitely going to see them just kind of keep all of their personnel bot side. Longxing does have teleport, but so does Colt. The problem, though, is Colt is nowhere near having Mega, so I don't know if LGD will actually opt into looking for this fight.
I think Colt, you know, especially once that first item as well, with a lot of Nars feel more confident. We saw the Stride Breaker last game, so let's see what it gets evolved into. V5, though, you mentioned, there's the Dragon. First one of their game. They move it into an Ocean Soul. Favors this team fighting team, favors this Rise and Kai'Sa. This feels like a V5 game where LGD are going to be fighting against the currents. You can also see LGD, it's not over after V5. They're going to verse EDG on Tuesday, so they're also going to ramp themselves up.
I'm just glad it's not over after their first and only series at LPL. That would be pretty disappointing for a lot of LGD fans out there, but Y4 doesn't really care, gonna walk forward. Looks like he's trying to bait them, knowing Weiwei's in the wings. Of course, with his items this far in his level, he already does have that evolved Q coming out. I like that you talked about Mythics coming out soon. It surprisingly looks like Mole is gonna go towards that Leandri's Anguish, so gonna go for the Burn coming out, consistently staying in combat. And another cool part of it is now, you know, it does ignore 5% of magic resist for duration when you are like throwing out your abilities up to 15%. So gives a bit more burst than the old Leandries did as well. And feels like V5 are just on a very good path towards continuing to accelerate this game.
Which is nice to see. You know, this form of control in the early game for V5, something throughout this whole series we've talked up. Guys, if you're just tuning in, you know, V5 had an atrocious game 1. LGD took over and then kind of climbed their way back up in this series. And we're in a game 3 where this is all about control. V5 not really giving up anything. They've set themselves up for the Ocean Soul with 3 dragons left to take. Next, Herald will be coming up shortly too. And, you know, Mole's going to feel pretty good if he can extend the mid lane, if he can push out and start using the gaps in vision to Realm Warp and fully commit with the rest of V5.
Yeah, and we're still at a point where we're kind of waiting to see the bottom lane turret broken down by V5.
That too,
An
yep.
interesting thing to know is the fact that Longxing has built the Sunfire Aegis when, again, he's going this Comet rune. Because you would think, at least had he gone, you know, maybe a tankier
Night
summoner
Harvest
would be
or
able to
something.
benefit, well, or like if he had gone Aftershock, right, being able to benefit
true,
off
true,
like the
true.
max HP and the resistances, or like you're saying, right, just going the typical Graga shot of the Night Harvester, instead kind of indexing into both areas, took the Comet for a bit of like a stronger laning phase, which I guess we did see him use, but still realizing, hey, my only role on this team is to kind of be a meat shield for my carries in Mole and Y4.
Yeah, alongside Weiwei and PP God. Lyric, I also wanted to bring something up as the Leandres you mentioned does come through. Whether I have time depends on Quay here, because PP God's walking into Fog of War. Smokescreen there, but Justice Punch with a full commit. Shield of Duran. Quay flashes over the wall immediately. Realm Warp, though. Here comes Molly Molly as Quay is just on the wrong side of dodge. Destiny uses a counter engage, or maybe just to stop the play from V5.
And V5, not really fighting over anything, though. I remember talking to some of the LPL team coaches last split, and when I brought up this idea of like fighting over nothing, they didn't really understand it. They kind of thought, what do you mean fighting over nothing? If we can get a pick, we can turn that into like more vision control, which could potentially turn into like a dive, as we are seeing here, or even just more gold. So it is kind of nice, the LPL philosophy being so different from a lot of what we hear in the West.
Yeah, I mean, just the region
Whether
in
right or
general.
wrong, to be fair.
Yep.
Whether right or wrong, who knows? But
We have an open mind. I mean, a lot of the time, LPL can be wrong, but right within the own region. As turret number 1 goes down for LGD, but this is the play once again. Weiwei's setting up to bully out Uniboy. Mid lane turret's going to go down, and, you know, for V5, this feels pretty nice for the comp, and right before Dragon and that Herald that has just spawned.
it definitely opens up more potential zones for your team to control now that you can pivot to either the top or bottom side of the map. V5, I would expect potentially at some point to pick up this Herald. With the fact that Weiwei's here, they are going to already go for it. After this, you channel your recalls, you start getting the vision down towards the bot side for that Dragon and picking up that bot tier 1. So V5 having a very telegraphed next, let's say, 2 to 3 minutes of gameplay.
And there's something I want to talk about the comp where if it was even, I was going to say, well, this could be the downfall of V5, but considering that they can just go in, right? They go one direction, they do not kite back well. They full-on engage with Realm Warp, Hero's Entrance, Killer Instinct, you know, name an ultimate, name an ability, it's only forward. So V5, as I can hear the ambulance maybe for LGD going past, they're a team that can corner themselves into a bad play, but can also just catch out LGD on the fly.
Yeah, they have certain tools. They have very decisive engage abilities like you're talking about. They can eventually play out a 1-4 style. You don't expect to see Gragas winning a side lane, but Mole definitely will. The good thing for LGD, though, they obviously have pick tools as well. You have the Destiny. You have the ultimate coming out from the Jhin to, like, catch people out. The Destiny also makes it so you don't necessarily need to be on an objective first. You don't have to face check vision. So even with a gold deficit, LGD's comp doesn't have them out of this game.
Out with an ulti. Maybe can bring him up through the top lane as Longxing. The solo kill, explosive cast, no potential. Destiny used, as you said, into the Fog of War. Uniboy has gold card, uses the heal with the unsealed spellbook as he flashes away everyone from LGD here. Longxing tanks up enough, wastes a bit of time, while solo kill in the mid lane almost happens. Y4 burns the Killer Instinct. There is no trade yet, but V5 say no, hysterics. We got the bottom lane turret. Now we're going for mid and the inner in this bot side too.
And this is definitely a bigger win for V5, right? Sure, you lose Longxing, but he was able to buy time and take up resources and pressure. Picking up 2 kills, might even, picking up 2 towers, I'm sorry, might even potentially be able to get more with the fact that they do have this Herald. And overall, it's been nice, steady-paced gameplay coming from V5.
Yeah. It's been gameplay that you can say is cool, calm, collected, controlled. Lyric, just on the side note, Mole has 200 CS. Can he get out with the Realm Warp is the next question. Okay. And the third statement is, Uniboy, where are you going?
I mean, he's looking to collapse, but...
And gold card, he has flash. Is he going to burn it? Is anyone going to come in? Yes, he flashes in the end. The shield needs to get from the passive here as Mole gets the MR shield. Yfall, though, no killer instinct. Using the previous players in a choke, the explosive cast. So nice from Lung Xing. And LGD are now stuck here. Chance without one. Without a chance, that is, as he goes back in with the center plate. He knows he's dead. More kills donated to V5, and that'll be all she wrote.
Desperation coming out from LGD when they honestly don't need to be desperate. They have avenues to get back into this game, but instead forcing everything for this pick onto Mole. You can see it in, like, Uniboy's movement. He's, like, thinking, do I flash for it? Is it worth it? I'm not quite sure. Goes for it in the end. Y4 is here. Victory 5 have a Galio on their side of the map. Long Xing is TP. Everything is in favor of V5 at this point. Nice ultimate coming out from Long Xing. And at this point, it's done and dusted. You know both members are going to go down as the rest of LGD isn't even there. And again, the only way I can describe that play was it looked like a bit of a desperation coming out from LGD.
Has to be, because LGD just falling to the wayside. The clock obviously on their screen, and they're thinking, well, it's 20 minutes in the game, and we're obviously down gold. We're down so many resources. This Rise is stacking up. He's almost got 2 items. There's an Archangel's now just built. That'll be a Seraph's now, if not shortly. And so Mole's in a great position. He's got so much CS. Y4 the same. And V5 can't step a foot wrong in this game with 2 more to Ocean Soul as well.
Yeah, and when Seraphs, which it is Seraphs, oh, as I stop, as Uniboy's going in.
Max range here for the Deadly Flourish, but Pipigod's taken no damage. They may have found another pick, though, onto Weiwei, who gets his Solar Flare down. Collateral damage doesn't kill him, though. The 4th shot will be blocked by Mole and Y4, who are absolute brothers to Weiwei. And that's another throw out from LGD, trying to find that pick.
LGD trying to take every chance they can find. Colt does have Mega, so I don't think Long Xing can necessarily do anything in this position, but, you know, they almost found the pick, but it doesn't really equal out to anything in the end, and now we're just going to see resets coming out from both sides.
And you know what, Lyric, if it was a pick maybe like 30 seconds from Dragon, even with Weiwei getting low, LGD could take that Dragon away, but it's a minute 50, timers don't sync up, they can't get the Baron, especially with a composition like this that does it so slow. And so V5 get to come back out on the map and keep pushing the sides.
One thing to keep in mind as well is that V5's comp actually does do Baron quite quickly.
They do, yeah.
Rise with the Leandries, you're going to just be kicking down the Baron so fast, and of course the Kai'Sa is amazing at burning Baron, so LGD always need to be cognizant of the fact that V5 can go for that cheeky Baron sneak.
As they push up towards the Baron side now, trying to clear the vision. In a choke once again for LGD. PP God is charging forward. Y4 doing the same with Gale Force. Colt takes an extra shot as he's about to go into Mega Gnar, but he's at half health with explosive cast being dodged by the Gale Force of Garvey this time around. LGD back on the defensive, and V5 on the aggressive Purple Worm.
And they could just do this with 2-man. They do have the others kind of feigning pressure in the mid lane. Uniboy doesn't have Destiny, but it is up in 4 seconds.
But will he get nearby? I mean, he has to walk out into lane while this is being done so quickly. Destiny being used. He has no smite with the spellbook, and he can't get there anyway. Goes down, and he teleports in. But now can they kill the top laner? Lung Xing's dead. Yes. Is the answer as Chance dies as well. 4 versus 4 definitely favors V5 with the spike in these items as forward into the choke. Y4 has already used the killer instinct. He's at half health, and Uniboy has no flash to follow through, but goes away with the cleanse. Garvey flashes forward, but to his death. Mole takes him down, and that play is going to cost them everything as PP God's out and LGD are away.
V5 taunting LGD, not with the Galio, but with Y4's positioning, does get them the kill onto Garvey. They have the Baron. They went for the cheeky play, Hysterics. Now they can go into this either 1-3-1 or I'd say probably better 1-4 setup for the fact Gragas doesn't have TP.
Look at Mole. He hasn't been spotted out, though. You thought this dragon was yours. Here's the machine gun rise onto Quay. He might die to Dragon, Lyric. Justice Punch. Dead to Kai'Sa. The Winds of War for Dragon. That's insult to injury as the jungler just gets maged.
Just small positioning and like vision plays that V5 are doing and LGD aren't thinking about landing that awesome play, getting a kill, and again, now they can just push up. They have a 5v4 on the map. They have Baron. LGD don't have the greatest wave clear. Just all the cards are right for V5.
Here we go into the inhibitor, a 6,000 gold lead. 23 minutes into the game. This is more than a shellacking. This is a spank-lacking, right? This is all about V5 and how they played these lanes and how dominant they've been in the first portion of this game. Double inhibitor goes down. What? Okay, Uniboy must have been caught out, or at least needed to leave, so he teleports away.
Uniboy, I'm guessing, was just reacting to the fact that V5 could have potentially pushed the Nexus. I don't know why he didn't just, channel a recall. To be fair, he does have Unsealed Spellbook, so we're actually idiots. It just does seem he wanted to change Summoners. I'm not too sure why he would necessarily want to just change to Ignite. A team fight could potentially be brewing soon as V5 are going to push, so just another offensive summoner for the fight would be my guess. But point is, this game, heavily in favor of V5. They're 3 minutes and 40 seconds away from having an Ocean Soul, which is going to feel massive. And we've already seen the damage that Mole can do by himself.
True. Mole's, I think, in a 1v3 state. 13th on the side of the screen that a lot of our audience can see. This is a great time to talk about the strength of V5 in the upcoming season. Again, one series doesn't define a team. So don't take this away as LGD being a bottom-tier team. They challenged V5 in Game 1. They've just fallen out to the early game, which has really defined this series, as they crash up to the top side, looking for their first series win of 2020. So they go in for the engage, as the explosive cast was great. Nicely done from Lungxing. He's had a great game as Colt. Gets a good ult, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's all over Red Rover as V5 Realm Warp in. Mole's dominating, and Uniboy, is he going to die to a support? PP got under the turret. Could actually find his maker as well. Justice punches away, but versus 2 Nexus turrets, V5 are going to win out and take the series 2-1 as LGD on look. This was a clinic of a game to end us off.
And these were 2 games that V5 needed to show us after a Game 1 loss and after a first series loss. Overall, we saw good performances coming out from the expected members of the side of V5. We know Longxing held his own in top lane and actually did, again, pretty fine in that 1v1. Y4 kind of doing his job as the role-playing AD carry who just kind of dishes out damage from safe positions. So the system of V5 showing if they can get certain comps, if certain ganks or like 1v1s, 2v2s can be won correctly, V5 are still going to be able to push the advantages like they did in Summer Split. And for the side of LGD, I think that there was some promise here, right? Game 1, very clean, very decisive, very patient. But as you stated at the end of the game, with a lot of these middle to bottom tier teams in LPL, they don't have the experience, the calling to really come back from a deficit. So the early game leads are so important.
Yeah, it's a great way to define it. It's something I think we talked about it at the start of game number 1 where, it's closing out games that's crucial. It's mistakes being held back from in that mid game that are even more important. And it's early games being cemented that against some of these lower teams that nothing can be done. So it was a really nice finisher here for V5, but good to see that LGD, this is their capability. This is what they have in them. If anyone's just tuning in now for game 3, game number 1 was great from LGD. So this series was a bit back and forth, and that's why we have 3 on your screen.
This V5 is starting to remind me of Summer in other ways. Do you remember in Summer where V5 was, I think, the only team that hadn't gotten 2-0'd by anyone until I think it happened at the last week of Summer. They finally did get 2-0'd by, I think, potentially it was Suning or someone along like those lines.
Yeah,
so
I remember they were the Game 3 team.
Yeah, so far, 2 series, both times going to Game 3, taking a win off WE, losing 1 game here today. It feels like for V5's development going forward, right, it's going to be about seeing if they can add more